Welcome to the Papa's Perspective, part of the Giants Huddle podcast. It's brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, and we're talking a little Giants and Niners as the Giants will be taking on the 49ers on the road. So it got me back to thinking in 1986, who should we talk about with the Giants and Niners? And Mark Bavaro came to mind. Mark, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. So Candlestick Park, 1986. You guys are down 17-0 at the half. Of course, you have one of those iconic plays to kind of get the team going in the third quarter. What was the mood like? You guys only had 2 losses going into that game. You were one of the best teams in the NFC. The Niners' record was, I think, 7-4 at the time. But what was sort of the messaging as you guys went to the locker room down by that whopping score?
I don't remember it being any sort of desperation or anything. In 1986, I don't think that we ever were really worried about any game that we were in. And of course, Bill Parcells was, very encouraging. He was boosting our morale. He kept saying, don't worry about the score. You guys are doing pretty good. You're beating them down, and just keep plugging away and things will start to happen. And basically, that was our whole MO of the 86 season. We just would wear teams down and things would happen in the third and fourth quarter. So I don't remember anybody being in panic mode at all.
You guys were having a hard time running the ball against them in that game, especially in the first half. Everyone always thinks about San Francisco, and they think about Montana and Rice and all of those players, Dwight Clark, John Taylor, all the great players, Roger Craig. People sometimes forget about how good they were defensively. And you guys matched up pretty well against them. But what was it like going against that Niners defense?
We played the Eagles defense, the Redskins defense, the Bears defense. I mean, the 49ers defense wasn't really that high on our list. We always felt that they were not a physical team, and that we were an ultra physical team. Whether or not we were running the ball well or not, I don't remember that. All I know is that you can only stop so many things, and in '86 we had everything. If they stopped us on the run, I'm sure we exploited the passing game. They couldn't hold up to us offensive-wise, and we knew it. They knew it too.
So take me through that play because it's become iconic. I'm sure at the time you didn't realize how iconic it would become, but it's one of the staple plays now when you watch any kind of highlights. What was it like for you as it was all unfolding? And then, take me through what it was like for you as the whole thing was happening.
I don't really remember it. It was just another play in my memory. So
you're just carrying Niners like on your back like it's nothing.
I do remember thinking it was taking them a long time to tackle me. It just reaffirmed my belief that they just weren't a very physical team. The only guy that I ever had to worry about was Ronnie Lott, because he could sneak up on you, and he did a few times. He got me. But it just as a physical, hard-nosed tackling team, they just weren't that good. And the thing that we knew about it was that they didn't practice it during the week. They were one of the first teams that really had very limited contact during the week. And we had all contact during the week, and so we thought we were doing a lot better than them, but in actuality, they probably had the right formula going. But it did show in game time that sometimes their techniques, their tackling fundamentals weren't always there. So, and that was just one play where that showed.
Phil then winds up hitting Joe Morris out of the backfield, gets him wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. You guys get on the board, and just kind of looking back at the game, and I had a chance to watch it on YouTube the other day. That seemed to be between your play and then Phil hitting Joe Morris. I think he was isolated on a linebacker for the touchdown, and you guys got on the board. It broke the seal, it felt like, for you guys offensively, and it rejuvenated the defense as well. Could you feel that momentum shifting once Joe scored and you guys got on the board and it was now 17-7?
Yeah, obviously you can feel those things during the game, but those Joe Morris and there was a who else scored? I forget, but a couple of guys made some great catches for those touchdowns. And my play wasn't that big of a deal in retrospect. I mean, these guys are the ones who scored the points. And of course, the defense, no one ever worried about the Giant defense. You could get some points on them, but you weren't going to blow them out. I don't think I ever saw it happen. Maybe once or twice my whole career there. So we weren't worried about them, and we pretty much kept to ourselves and minded our own business as far as offense and defense went. So the Giants' defense in '86 was never a concern of ours, or should have been. If anything, they usually worried about whether we were going to perform, and it took us a while to get going, and maybe took them a little while to get going. But like I said, in '86, we won our games in the third and fourth quarter, and if things were bad in the end of the fourth quarter, we would start to be concerned. But not until then. We figured we were right on schedule.
Then the team gets a big stop late on a fourth down play. The pressure on Montana. That play, you were just playing, and it's a play, and as you mentioned, it felt like it took a while for them to get you down. Can you talk a little bit about, though, the aftermath of that? And I don't even mean the immediate aftermath of it, but at the end of the year and then years later, how that play has become such an iconic play that is replayed over and over and over again?
I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a deal at the time, and I always thought I had better plays than that. And I remember, I would always say, geez, I'd hate to be remembered that play. It's just the 82 semi 10-yard option route, sit over the middle. And I thought I had a lot more athletic plays, but as you get older, you realize that people forget your career and forget even great players. They just kind of fade off into memory holes. But it's nice to have a play that people remember. I don't care what play it was. I mean, even if it was the play where Ronnie Lott, a couple of years later knocked me out, running down the seam. I mean, it's just nice to have proof that you actually played in the league. And if that's the play that people remember me by, that's fine by me.
Yeah, the late Stacy Robinson had a 34-yard touchdown catch in that game, and then O.J. Anderson.
That was a spectacular catch.
Yeah, it was. That made it 17-14, and then O.J. Anderson knocks one in from a yard out. You guys take the lead for good, and then the defense closes it out. I just want to ask you a little bit about that rivalry, because even going back to 19, and then going ahead to 1990, and you guys lost that 10-3 game on Monday Night Football in San Francisco. But for the most part, during your time with the Giants, you guys seem to have their number. They were winning some Super Bowls, but it felt like when you guys and the Niners played, you talked about the physicality of the Giants defense. Did they almost feel like a division opponent at that point because you played them so much?
Yeah, they really did. That's a good point. They always felt like they were on our schedule, but they were always big games. That was the difference. You only got to play once, and it usually meant something big. But like I said, I don't know. I don't want to say that we had their number, but because they won some good games against us too. But when it really came down to it, and when it mattered, like in '90 in the playoff game, and '86 playoffs, even the '85 playoffs, didn't we play them in '85?
Yeah, you beat them in '85 as well.
I mean, those big games, we usually stepped up and did what we were supposed to do.
So, your career with the Giants is very intertwined with the San Francisco 49ers, and obviously you beat them. You guys went on to beat Washington, which locked up the NFC East for you guys because that was a season sweep for them. At what point during that season did you feel like, the role was that you guys might not be stopped at this point, or did Parcells never let you feel that way?
Yeah, we were never supposed to, celebrate too much or feel too good about ourselves. That the old adage, he had that, he always kept a pebble in his shoe, just so he wouldn't be comfortable. And I think that's how he wanted us to feel. We were doing good, but he didn't want us ever to be overconfident. That was never a problem with us. And even though we knew we tried to keep it low key, I mean, we knew we were good. I mean, it was hard not to think of yourself as one of the dominant teams, especially with our defense. But it was a good lesson for a lot of teams, a lot of players. Just to stick to business. Don't get lost in the moment. There's always, and like Belichick always says, in later years, we're on to next week, and that's really how we had to make it through that year, and that's the formula for success, I think, for any team.
Well, Mark, we want to thank you for a couple of minutes taking us down this trip down memory lane with the Giants playing against the Niners on the road here this season. And one of the most memorable games was that December 1st game, 1986, with that great comeback, 21-17. And, for Giants fans, that is the staple play, the iconic play that kind of symbolizes what the offense and the grit of that Giants 86 team was as they delivered their first ever Super Bowl. We appreciate the time as always, Mark. Great catching up.
Thank you, Bob. Great to be here.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Papa's Perspective. It's part of the Giants Huddle podcast. It's brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture.